Hey, Glue Troopers. Max and Max's Models here. Everybody's doing well. Go ahead and kick this thing off. Steve will be by later, probably 15, 20 minutes. He's out doing stuff. Ken is on the road. He might call in later. I sent them both links. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to go with the lounge approach. So, and yes, Bill, I am getting a little carried away with the AI, but it's all part of that. First off, can everybody hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you guys can hear me okay. We're running about a 20-second lag over, 15 to 20-second lag over me saying something and comments coming back in, which is about normal. So before I go any further, make sure everybody can hear me. And away we go. Yeah, I don't need no stinking AI to be dangerous. Okay, so you guys can hear me. Great. Excellent. Okay. So like I say, Steve will be with us later. Ken maybe. So, given everything we're working on, I thought we'd do missiles, paints, and buffaloes, which is the Brewster Buffalo that I'm working on, the Tamiya kit. It's funny, when I was younger, I wasn't that really interested in model rockets. I mean, like Estes and stuff, launching them I did, but like plastic kit model rockets didn't exactly thrill me. But as I got older and your interest sort of changed a little bit, now it's become a passion. When I was in the Army, I think the Lance may still have been in operation out in Europe, but I was stateside in the 101st, so we never saw this. I saw one Hawk missile battery one time when we were on, I think, a training exercise in Louisiana, because being an airborne unit, we didn't have them. And the little John rocket we talked about had long been out of inventory. But before I get too far into the kit models, I wanted to mention a little issue that popped up. I just loaded the third iteration of my Honest John video because there was a ton of wrong information, including on a lot of official sites, and not making excuses for anything, but just to bring up the point that when you decide to make these online documentaries, you're only as good as your source material. And first off, I want to thank Chris for a lot of the information he sent me, especially on the M33 launcher and stuff. But I actually went to the Department of the Army website on the Honest John, and some of the information was wrong. I went to the Department of Defense website on it, and some of it the information was better, but still missing a lot. And it wasn't until on Google Books I found an Honest John field manual. I had found a couple of a couple of them I found on eBay. eBay has almost become a research tool, and it answered some of the questions that I had. And I won't go any. You know, watch the video. The latest one that's up there, I got one on pilots and prop wash, and the same thing up on Max's Models channel. But that's a week's worth of research digested into about 9 minutes of video. But I love doing the research. I don't want to say that, this is all, I'm doing it because I love it, and I find all the stuff interesting. We're going to talk about missiles and rockets and kit models of them. And I happen to have, this is the comp for the Revell Lacrosse truck and missile. I got this through a estate sale from the Craig Kadura estate, thanks to Mike Machat. And I bought a bunch of comps. Most of them were Linwoods. This is Richard Cashady. And I also have a box art from my box top for that model in the shelf with it, but I thought this would make the perfect time to use this as a backdrop. But this is it's, I believe, done in gouache, which is a type of watercolor, so I have to be very careful with it. This is a comp, which is short for comprehensive, and maybe it's not done this way anymore because times have changed, but back in the heyday of kit models, these big companies like Revell and Monogram, they had full-time art directors, and they would talk about, okay, what do we want, what angle do we want, what do we want to see it doing, and then he would mock this up, and this is called, comp is short for comprehensive. And once he got this all done, it would be submitted to the art director, would make some changes, and then then they would make a one about 2 or 3 times this size that would become the box art. And sadly, a lot of them weren't saved, which is a crime against art. But you have to remember, this is just an industrial product. To us, it's an artifact and literal work of art, and it's an artifact. But to the people who are cranking out models and doing all this stuff, this was just one in many steps of getting a model to market, and it was just an industrial product. It's a miracle that they were held on to. And I think it was Jack Linwood said that most of them ended up in the trash can, which... Would somebody please pull that dagger out of my back? I'm sorry, out of my heart. But anywho, so I'm going to try and be doing everything here. Yes. In fact, I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and jump into the Honest John a little bit real quick. And I want to talk about something that I know a lot of you guys have already probably heard this, but I want to clear up a little of the terminology. The Honest John is a rocket. Now, what that essentially makes in military parlance, where weapons are concerned, there's different categories in these. In the words like missile and rocket have different meanings in different categories. In weaponry, a rocket generally means the tube-shaped weapon system with its own motor, which has its own oxidizer, okay, and is not air breathing. That's actually a pretty significant thing to point out. That is unguided. You point at a target and fire. When you would see the airplanes in World War II, you see that footage of the Tempest and the Thunderbolts shooting the rockets at the positions on the ground. Those are rockets. When you see a Cobra firing rockets as 2.75-inch rockets, those are rockets. Got their own motor, their own oxidizer, they're unguided. Just point and shoot, which is how the Redstone worked, or excuse me, the Honest John worked. If it has in-flight correction and guidance, or can anyway track a target and maneuver, it's a missile. Whether it's air-to-air, air-to-ground. The fact that the V2 had those gyros in it that would make it change, they call it a rocket, and it falls in another region. It couldn't track a target, but it did have a gyro system on board, but everything was pre-programmed on the ground and it followed it. So it kind of falls into both categories in a way, but it's generally classified as a rocket. But one could argue that it's really a missile. But once it leaves the ground, it got no ground guidance. So, these definitions are accepted terms. They're not engraved in stone. But something like Lacrosse that was radio guided to the target, that's a missile. Which is why the Lacrosse carries the MGM, medium guided missile, and the Honest John carried MGR, medium surface attack rocket. And ground attack rocket, medium ground attack rocket, surface to surface. And like I say, the DOA, the Department of Army website said it was medium guided, but the Department of Defense said it was medium ground attack. So here you've got the government not agreeing with itself. What are the odds? I hate to say it, but I think the Army website is wrong, but that's a guess on my part. Right. I think the V2, because it has the ability to correct its flight, I think it falls in the missile category. Of course, back when it was being used in the 40s, these things hadn't really been ironed out because missiles were so new, so everybody called it a rocket, but in fact, I agree, it's a missile. Now, obviously, like a Sidewinder or a Beam Rider like the Sparrow, or all those are missiles. They're guided. Now, there's another definition for rocket outside of weapons. The Saturn V, which you see here. Come on, Max, figure it out. There, you see it there. The Saturn V is a rocket because it's not a weapon. Since it's not a weapon, it doesn't fall in the weapons system's description. It is guided like a missile, but it's not shot at a target with the intent of doing harm, which is basically the definition of a missile. To be a missile, the way I know this is that, one of the ways I know this is that when I was a cop in Virginia, If somebody threw a rock at a car or a rock at a house, the actual charge was throwing missiles at an occupied dwelling or an occupied vehicle or da-da-da. So basically, you lob anything with a harm of doing damage to a target, you're a missile. The Saturn V was to take men to the moon. So it was classified as a rocket. When you're not dealing with weapons, missile doesn't really apply. Now, generally speaking, my understanding is that rockets are considered to carry their own oxidizer. So something like the Hound Dog, for those who remember it, the Hound Dog was a missile. It had a jet engine on it. Snark had a jet engine. It was considered a missile. So Matador, Mace, those were all missiles, even though they had jet engines. Of course, they would have been missiles anyway because they were guided. But I don't know of any jet-powered rocket, unguided jet-powered vehicle. The V1 had course correction in it, so that pulse jet, so it qualifies as a missile. So you get into the tri-service. So yeah, that's when things really got goofy. But I understand that, in the 60s, we had so many nomenclatures for things that were getting all over the place. So I kind of understand, like, look, guys, we gotta simplify this. And that's why you wind up, of course, the Navy. As you guys know, the Navy nomenclature for aircraft was aircraft type, like F for fighter. And then you had the second number was which one you had bought from the third digit, which was the manufacturer. But they never used a 1. So there was never an F1F, which would have been fighter, first one from Grumman. Grumman got the F designation. It was just FF. So Grumman's first fighter plane, which was a biplane, that they got for the Navy was just the FF. You would just assume the 1 if there's no number in between. Then they did the F2F, the F3F, and then of course the Wildcat was the F4F. Fighter, fourth one from Grumman, which was following F, and then the dash number for the subvariant. F4F-3 was a Wildcat with 450 calibers and fixed wings. F4F-4, 650 calibers and folding wings, that sort of thing. The FM1 and FM2, those were made by, I think it was Goodyear. So they had the M instead of the, and it was the first one Goodyear made for them, so it wasn't the F1, it was just the FM. And the Dash 1, and they put the bigger engine, the tall tail, FM-2, which is usually what you see in the movies because there aren't that many Dash 1s flying. But you can see how it got all so confused. That's how you end up with the Helldiver being the SB2C-4. Scout, Bomber, fourth one we bought from Curtiss and the dash number. OS2U. That's why you wind up with so many bloody F4s. F4F, Wildcat. F4U, Corsair. Yada, yada, yada. And then when they went to tri-service, it was F4 Phantom, just to add to the confusion. But, yeah, I think they needed to streamline things. And, hey, by the way, I'm just curious. If you combine two F-18s, do you get an F-36? What, too soon? Put this up here, make sure Steve's not trying to get in here. Okay. Alrighty. So, by the way, for those who don't know, the Air Force lost the crew got out, but they lost the T-38 yesterday. So between the two F-18s and the T-38, we are throwing away a lot of expensive government airplanes. Alrighty, so now to the rockets. When I went out on YouTube, or not YouTube, Google and ScaleMates, and started getting stuff together for the tonight's live stream, which, by the way, did all this in a big hurry. I was a little shocked at how many rockets I found and missiles and everything kits. I mean, I knew there were quite a few of them out there, and this is just a smattering I threw together real quick. But the video froze. That happens sometimes when I go jumping around. Hopefully the still picture will come up here momentarily that I meant to be a still picture. There we go. Got it working. But and I think I know why so many companies were making missiles in the 50s and 60s. Now, I'm making a lot of inferences here, but I think one reason you have so many of these things is when you think about it, there's not that many parts to them. They're probably, pretty easy to make the molds for, and they're very popular. You're going to sell a ton of them. They're kind of they don't have nearly the parts count of a decent car model or even an airplane model. And so, like, hey, we can charge the same 95 cents for this we're charging for an airplane, and there's only 14 parts to it or something like that. Which, by the way, I have to say, when you start adding the gantries and stuff like that, that doesn't really apply. Something like the Hawk 3 rocket power, I mean, I've never built that kit. I don't know if it comes with any stands or anything. But you've got not that many parts. I'm assuming KMT model stuff. Now, when you start building like the Nike, you actually have a very complicated gantry that comes with it. But the Talos gantry is, I don't know, 8 or 10 parts. Still very simple. You deal with the Corporal missile and the transporter. Now you're getting to a lot more stuff. But that's I'm sure that was a more expensive kit. But I'm thinking a lot of these are probably pretty easy to make. In the case of like the Lacrosse, well, they already made the M35 truck, so they had half of that already made. They just had to make the back end for it in the missile. So, John, someone who tips, oh God. But, by the way, the Honest John with the Kenworth, the Revell, now Atlantis kit, I'm pretty sure, I did a little digging around, and I'm pretty sure that's a 1951 Kenworth. I found some pictures. I started looking around for the trucks of that era, Kenworths of that era. The 1951 looked identical to this model. Not exactly sure why the chassis is so long before you get to the fifth wheel. I'm sure there was a reason for it. Maybe I don't think sleepers were that common on trucks back then, but maybe it was for some kind of specialized trailer that had a longer throw. But that aside, it's not a bad little truck model. And I think those danger decals are supposed to go on the mud flaps. That's where it falls short. The instructions of the decals leave something to be desired. But otherwise, I was really very happy with that kit. A lot of flash to clean off, but it's an old kit. I mean, it's an old mold, so you got to expect flash. But that's not a big deal. I wouldn't mind having more of those trucks and some other things to put on the back of them. I just think it's a cool kit. And trucks like this are such a handy thing for diorama. Now, this, of course, is kind of an off scale, but you make it work. But yeah. Now the Snap kit, the Honest John Snap rocket. I wanted to talk about that. Adams is a company I have a lot of respect for. I've only built one of their kits. It was a helicopter, and of course it had that Hawk transporter, which was ridiculous and never existed because they had a ton of Hawk missiles left over, and they were just trying to do something with them. So you don't put it on the helicopter; you putty up the holes. But the Adams kit that I built fit like a glove. And the parts were thick and heavy. It was really a solid kit. And I wanted to get one of the Adams Honest Johns. Well, good luck with that. However, somebody has 3 of the UPC, which is just a repop of the Adams kit. 3 of the UPC kits of that truck, but he wanted like $175. And I was like, I'm not spending that. I don't need 3 of them. But sure enough, I saw they didn't sell them. They're up for $125, and I'm thinking, well, I only need 3 of them, but I suppose I could sell 2 of them. I might have to consider that. But good luck finding any Adams kits that are they're still pretty sought after. But and I'm not knocking any of the other Honest John kits, but I would like to build the Adams one. And I'm not sure, but I think all of the Honest John kits I saw were the M31, the early one. And I know you guys all seen my video on this, so but just for the one or two people that haven't, the M30, the M31, later the MG R1, the early model 1A, you can tell because of these little fin-looking flanges right here. There's 4 of them around the 90 degrees apart. And these are the exhaust for the little M7 rocket spin motors that fire, and they fire like bang. It's not like a long burn. They're like whoosh, and impart the spin on it. And the later ones, the M50 or the MGR1B, they only had 2 180 degrees apart, and they were here, Steve, and they were recess mounted. Let me get him up here. Hey.
Hey.
Let me get you squared away on this thing. Okay, participants. Let's go pin. And pin. There we are. Okay. So I was just giving everyone a scintillating lecture on the spin rocket motors on the Honest John. But Chris was right, though. The thing had an almost 30-year history. And the thing is, I mean, as I read the manual, I realized it's not quite as simple as I make it sound, which you would think. I mean, there's connectors that had to be set up. But they said that a crew could take this thing and get it operating and load it in about 5 minutes and ready to fire in 15 to 20. That's pretty quick. And but the thing to remember is this is a glorified Estes rocket. I mean, they used an artillery sight, and they had a trailer with a anemometer and all this other stuff to get the wind and everything, and they try to let a balloon go, because that doesn't tell the enemy where you're at when they see literally the balloon go up. But they had to get the winds, because they had to make all these calculations before they fired the rocket. Because once that thing went bang, it was just an Estes rocket. It was just whew. But what they found out was it was amazingly accurate, up to about 15 miles. I mean, it's just math. As long as the wind doesn't shift too hard and the guys have done their job right, it's all pretty predictable. And now, the rocket was simple, but it had to have all kinds of support equipment. You had to have the truck with the generator and the heater for the blankets that kept it. They'd cover it with heating blankets to keep it warm, to keep everything at a fixed temperature. And you had to have the little trailers to put the thing together on. You had to have cranes, but any crane would do. And there was actually quite a bit of support vehicles, but those vehicles supported a whole bunch of missile launching trucks. But still, compared to what a lot of these other systems like Lacrosse needed, it was pretty straightforward. And when you started getting in these missiles like Corporal and Lacrosse, we're talking about half hour to set the things up and get all the information in there, and longer than that to get them fired, and dealing with liquid propellants and stuff. And the whole time, of course, if the enemy sees you or finds out where you're at, they're not going to sit around and do nothing. They get a vote.
So how did the Germans do it so quick with the V2s?
They didn't. A lot of their V2s got caught on the ground. In fact, I was reading a comment by a German V2 guy that he said that. And by the way, they shot a lot of them out of this street in France. Somebody just went and visited today. This street is where they like to shoot their missiles from, and the Allies knew it. I mean, we figured out the range of the thing and where they probably fire from. And later in the war, when we had Mustangs, we had so many fighters that they didn't all have to go escort bombers. So you'd have these cocky 21-year-old Air Force first lieutenants roaming around their Mustangs just looking for a juicy ground target. That's why you have so much strafing footage from the last year of the war. And they go, we would put a V2 up, and it took better part of an hour to get everything done. And remember, they weren't transported fuel, so once they got it erect, they had to put fuel in it. And that was when they were the most nervous. You know, you're up on the little gantry and everything, getting the fuel put in. He goes, if we heard American airplanes, we heard airplane engines, we were diving for cover. And more than one V2 met its fate on the pad getting strafed by Mustangs. And they made a beautiful boom when they went up. And it may be apocryphal, but some guys claim they actually caught him in the boost stage and shot him down, but I think that's just pilot yarns. Um, oh yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, a lot of V2s got torched on the pad. When they were at that place near the coast, what was the name of it, where they had the concrete bunker that they were all built in. They ate there, huh?
Dinamunda?
No, that's where they designed them. This was a facility they had in France for launching them. They could actually put them together and get them ready to fire under this concrete dome, and they would roll them out and fire them real quick. And the 8th Air Force bombed it regularly, but the concrete was so thick that we didn't have the concrete penetrating bombs like we have now, and they would just blow up on the surface and knock chunks of concrete out, and the Germans would go pour more concrete on it. We never actually did penetrate it. Eventually, the thing that neutralized the V1s and the V2s, although air power strafing and bombing absolutely put a dent in the operation, it was worth doing. But the thing that really was ground forces taking the ground and pushing the Germans out. That was really did it. And in fact, if you remember the movie Patton, when Bradley, Carl Malden playing Bradley, goes up to tell Patton that he's got to cut his fuel, he says, well, those V1 launch sites are in Monty's territory, and, they're giving the British heck. So, it's like, but the V2, I want to be careful I say this. I don't want to downplay it. V2, financially and strategically and tactically, was a waste of money. For the damage that it did and the impact it had on the war, they'd have been far better putting that money and those resources into other more proven systems. But historically, its importance cannot be overestimated.
But it had a big psychological value.
Exactly, and that is not to be underestimated. That matters. Apparently, if you want to believe this, and this comes from the chieftain, who pretty much knows what he's talking about, nothing terrified German tankers more than American ground attack aircraft, Thunderbolts and Tempests. But he said, but apparently you could count all the tanks that were actually knocked out by them on one hand. But they didn't actually know that. What they knew is they came in dropping bombs and shooting rockets and blowing stuff up, and they had no way to fight back at them, so they were terrified of them. But in reality, and they would button up as soon as they heard the engine of an airplane. But in reality, they weren't actually that effective at actually knocking them out. There's a lot of. It's funny, and this is kind of becoming better known these days, largely thanks to the internet and YouTube and stuff. Yeah, you're exactly right, Lance. The V2 was a terror weapon. That's exactly what it was. Yep, and the Germans did have guided anti-aircraft missiles, which they did shoot at B-17s. Luckily for us, they hadn't gotten the technology down and they missed. But there's actually one of them at the air and space. You and I think went and saw it. We were looking at that weird thing, had the paddles up on the nose, and that was actually the first SAM. But it was a nascent technology. And now surface-to-air missiles are about the most dangerous thing out there outside of Kuwaiti F-18 pilots. What, too soon?
Too soon.
Too soon. I really can't hold that shoot down against the F-15's perfect record. I mean, that's friendly fire, man. That just doesn't count. That's like blowing one up on the ground. But as feared as and the chieftain pointed this out, as feared as the German Tiger was by our crews, there's only a handful of times that Americans actually faced Tiger tanks and Shermans. And they won one of the encounters. One of the number one threats to the Sherman tank, I'll put it this way: for every Sherman tank, at least American Sherman tank, that was knocked out by a Tiger, a whole bunch of them were knocked out by landmines. And a lot of these mauled Shermans you see on the side of the road hit a landmine. So they also talked about like 20 or 30% of crews that were killed outside the tank, caught doing maintenance or something like that. I mean, it's the average soldier, and I can say this with some authority, having been one, has no idea what's going on around him in the battle he's in. He only knows what he can see and what he hears. And soldiers are notorious gossips and BS artists, and and one or two things will happen, and it'll become the standard. One guy gets something happen to him, and oh, that's what they're doing. It happened to everybody there, and now it's the common thing. Now, in fairness, the Brits did go up against tigers on several occasions, but and the same thing happens in every endeavor: aviation, cars. I mean, think about. Oh, I'll give you an example you can appreciate. What's his name? Nader's book on the Corvair. Dangerous at any speed. Tell me that book wasn't nonsense.
It was total nonsense.
But now you talk to people about the Monza or the Corvair, and what do they say? What do they say? Tell me what they say.
It was unsafe at any speed. But the ones who I know who had it loved it. They said it was a great car.
I rode in one once, and the guy that owned it, he was in the Air Force, he was a family friend. He absolutely loved it. It was the first convertible I remember riding in, if you don't count a dune buggy. And I couldn't have been. I was happy as a clown. I was like, I love this thing. And what's his name? The Rabbit from VinWiki. Robert, I forget his name, but for those of you who've not seen VinWiki, go to VinWiki the Rabbit and just listen to Robert's stories. They call him the Rabbit. He got the nickname the Rabbit because his handwriting was so bad. He went to work for a car dealership, big time car guy. I mean, big time. He's the guy that got banned for life from eBay because he was like 14 and selling cars on eBay. This guy was a character. He finally had Marlboro's caught up with him. But anyway, he wrote his name down. His writing was so bad that the owner of the car dealership, he's like 18 and working at a car dealership, and he said he couldn't read the name Robert. He goes, "What is that, Rabbit?" And the name just stuck. But he later became a radio personality, and he could give James Earl Jones a run for his money on radio voice. Okay. When you retire, your boss changes. Amen, Garfield. If Max says the Pinto was a safe car, I'm out of here. No, I will never make that comment. And I used to ride around in one, totally conscious that we were basically riding on the front end of a hand grenade, but that's another story. Anyway, thanks for that, Russell. The Rabbit. Okay, I completely lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the Rabbit was at either his Turkey Run or one of them, and he bought a Monza on the spot. And he said, I'd heard all the stuff, and I'd heard the book and all that. And he and his buddies rode around Daytona for a week, after buying it. And he goes, they got the thing for like $6,000 or something. It was just a running, decent shape used Corvair. It wasn't worth that much, but he goes, man, you cannot have more fun than we had with that car. The guys are sitting with their feet in this back seat and their butts up on the trunk, just riding around parade style. And it's Daytona during, one of the events. And he's like, and by this time people knew who he was. He's like, and I agree. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're riding in my convertible, I don't want you sitting on like that because you're going to be sitting on the top. But I get where he's going though. It was just, I had the Mustang out today. I don't normally drive at more than 50 miles an hour. Half the time I'm 35. I like cruising in my convertible at low speed with an elbow over the door and my big floppy hat on to keep the sun from frying my vampire self. But I actually enjoy it more than I enjoy my motorcycles because on a motorcycle, even if you're on the road by yourself, you cannot relax. The minute you relax on a motorcycle, somebody uses it as a new hood ornament. And I am convinced that Lincoln has that cross star thing on the hood ornament. You're not kidding me, Steve. That's a freaking sight for little old ladies to lock onto some motorcyclist and chase him down. But
it's accurate.
It is. I have yet to see a Harley win an argument with a Lincoln Continental yet.
Down car, no.
But hey Trey, so man, I'm out of cough medicine. I have to go get more. But anyway, getting back to rockets and missiles. I think one of the reasons, I was saying this earlier before you came on, I think one of the reasons that a lot of the model companies like to make models of rockets is they're relatively simple. There aren't any parts to them. Are you tired, Steve? I know I'm boring
Yes,
you. That's
I am.
a given.
Yes,
but,
I am.
You know.
It was a long drive back the other day.
Where'd you come from? Do you want to talk about it?
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. Steve's moving to Chattanooga.
No, maybe.
I'm starting the rumor right now. Let
Thank
people
you.
in Tennessee know he's coming. Did you just love Dolly World and Pigeon Forge?
Yeah, it was like Hillbilly Vegas.
Ah! Oh my God! That's the T-shirt. Pigeon Forge, the Hillbilly Vegas. I have heard from numerous people that is nothing but one big manufactured tourist trap.
It is. I thought I'd seen them all, but that and Gatlinburg were just off the scale. And I'm still trying to figure out why there's a pancake restaurant every block.
Have you ever seen a skinny redneck or hillbilly?
Never.
There you
Never.
go. I can actually kind of answer that. Think about it. That's genuine hillbilly food, because think about it. You know, even John Denver in Thank God I'm a Country Boy, you know, he calls them griddle cakes, but they're the same thing, you know. But let me tell you, being a swamp rat, which is the flatland swampy answer to the hillbilly, let me tell you, I can actually answer that question for you. All right? That is because they are cheap, filling, and tasty.
Well, let me tell you, I happened to have to go into the Target in Pigeon Forge because I ran out of toothpaste.
See, only in Pigeon Forge they call it Target. Here in Jacksonville and all the other educated places, we refer to it as Target. Thank you.
Yes. And I get what I need. I'm going to the register, and I'm going past the stationery department. And there, in her gown, is a bride with her groom in his tuxedo. And
welcome to Tennessee. Don't forget I was
at,
based at Fort Campbell.
They were from Georgia. And I looked at them and I said, aren't you supposed to get the invitations before you get married?
And then, Your Honors, when the gunfire broke out. You have impugned my honor.
But I must say, anyone out there, like you, Trey, who's a fan of knives, they have the world's largest knife store. 4 floors of knives that I never knew there were that many companies that
You were telling me. What was the name of this place?
It's got a 3-letter name, but they advertise themselves as the world's largest knife store. And
Knife,
they were.
N-I-F.
Oh, and they had about 3,000 different models of handguns. It's like,
Hey, Trey, get Fran. I'm seeing a road trip coming up.
all I know is that when the government comes for us, that's where I want to be.
That's where they're going to go first.
Yep.
I really want to make a movie called Rednecks versus Aliens, kind of like Cowboys and Aliens, which, by the way, I don't care what anybody says. I love Cowboys versus Aliens, okay? I don't know how they roped Harrison Ford in that movie, but I love that movie. I want to make the modern-day counterpart, Rednecks versus Aliens. War of the Worlds, 1953, the redneck version.
Super PLC says, I saw a video not long ago about the 10 Commandments of Waffle House.
Ah, yeah. Thou shalt not start a fight before 2 a.m.
One time we were driving by a Waffle House, and I said to my wife, you want to go in a Waffle House? She'd never been to one. She goes, yeah, what the heck? We walked in, and she was like horrified. And then we ordered, and she said, Eggos are better than this.
Well, she clearly didn't get them scattered, smothered, and chunked.
No.
I love Waffle House, but then again, I'm from Quincy, Florida, so what do you expect? Now, I try to tell my wife's a fantastic cook. I mean, genuinely a great cook. And I try to make her understand. She makes these wonderful things for me, and I love them. She goes, yeah, but you like everything. And like, just because I like garbage food doesn't mean I can't appreciate fine food, okay? Don't think that one cancels out the other, okay?
Fran says he's all in for the road trip to celebrate Trey's retirement, and it could be your interpretation of Thelma and Louise.
We have to watch our language, but FNA. That's the letters FNA. That's a. Oh, that could be a T-shirt, FNA, and let people figure it out, and that way you could wear it in public. We were supposed to go to Fort Rucker, but and the Naval Air Museum. But when I told my wife I wanted to go to those, I thought, and she was like, "I want to go," and I was like, "Really?" To an and she loves going to museums with me. So I was like, "Okay," but but I was going to have all these guys go with me, and she was like, "No, I want you to go with me." So okay, guess who won that argument? But I was like, but train there. He knows. I want you to go with me and tell me about the helicopter. I'm like, you literally want to spend 4 hours of me walking around telling you about Army helicopters? I'm in. Which, by the way, guys, there are 2 museums in the Southeast that are absolute must-dos. That is the Naval Air Station Museum in Pensacola, the Naval Aviation Museum at Pensacola, and the Army Aviation Museum at Fort Rucker. And unfortunately, Fort Rucker had to destroy, because due to corrosion, that gigantic heavy lift helicopter prototype that never got finished, which was just so impressive to look at. Oh my God, I wish they'd finished that thing just for the cool factor. But and when you do the one in Pensacola, they got like these big, gigantic, Martin Marlin seaplanes and everything out there, and like it just. And they've got one SBD that actually fought at Midway with the Marine Squadron, and you're like, these are homes of true artifacts. These places are incredible. What I can't believe, Steve, and I'm blaming you for this for not making me go. I haven't been to the Garlitz Museum yet, and that's a freaking hour down the road.
It's right by your house.
Oh, by the way, there's a military museum here, Green Cove Springs, about 40 minutes away. They have a lot of models on display. I need to go down there and ask them if they would like some of my models to put on display, some of my better builds. I am running out of places to put them. When I did the cleanup video the other day, somebody said build that B-25, the big 132nd scale one. One reason I haven't started that kit is I literally have no place to put it. I'd have to hang it up in the garage. Even the garage has a half dozen models hanging in it. I am running out of places to put these things. That's one of the reasons I think I've been leaning into the 172nd scale later. Scooch everything over.
The name of the knife store is the Smoky Mountain Knife Works.
Smoky Mountain Knife Works.
In Sevierville. Or Sevierville, however they want to pronounce it.
Okay. It's Tennessee. Use the simplest pronunciation.
I texted it to you.
Okay. So essentially you are saying Waffle House is a Denny's. No.
No.
Denny's is far more upscale than the Waffle House. In fact, I'll tell you here's a way you can break it down for those of you who live on the upscale side. Denny's is to Waffle House as Ruth's Chris is the Longhorn.
Right.
Okay. So, back to the models. So, I was saying, I think one of the reasons the model rockets are so popular with these companies back in the 50s and 60s and 70s was, first off, rockets were a really big deal back then, and it wasn't that hard to make, but they charged just as much for them. And when it came to something like the LaCrosse, they already had the M35 truck in production, so, they could just modify an existing mold or use those parts out of it. All they had to make was a relatively simple rocket and the back end of the truck. And you're in business. And I do like that kit, though. This is the Revell kit. And but I'm thinking about something like this. This is the Redstone. This is the Revell Redstone. I mean, there's like 9 parts to this whole thing, including the base plate. And it cost as much as any other model. And they probably sold them by the bucket load. So this had to be a moneymaker for them. And
wait till you see the X-17.
I'm looking forward to it. And by the way, I went and found a documentary on the X-17 that I'm going to use in the video. And none other than back then Major General, later 4-star General Schreiber, who wound up running the Air Force Material Command, which is a major command. And he introduced it. And they show him launching the first one. and it looked like they were launching out of the parking lot. I mean, there are like privately owned cars within 100 yards. You know, yeah, the rocket wasn't that big, but they had this very detailed thing on how it was used. I didn't appreciate how many of those they launched. Oh, hey, Ken's here. I thought he was just going to call them.
Oh, hey, Ken.
All right, let's get him here. Okay, I said admit. He's in a hotel, so he might have some pretty sketchy coverage. There it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, Steve.
Let's
There
pin it
goes it.
here. And pin.
Where are you?
In a hotel room,
Where, though?
Brunswick, Georgia.
Oh, so you're on the way up.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They decided not to make the grinding all-night drive and enjoy their trip. I mean,
Doesn't bother me. I do it for her.
So if
And
you would have
that's
left a
what
couple of days earlier, you could have met me in Chattanooga.
That's way over there.
that's in
Wow, but
Tennessee.
It's right on the
Steve,
border.
Steve.
Yeah.
It's over there, and you were over there. Okay.
Okay.
By the way, one quick point. I knew I'd be right on this, and I was. I had brought up the question about. I'd made the joke about, tell me these don't look like missiles you would use in a Godzilla movie. Which, quite frankly, I think the Bristol Bloodhound actually has more of that look. But sure enough, I found where the Honest John rockets, by the way, I might add, what look like technically
With the
correct
launcher.
trucks in the Rodan movie.
Yep.
So I was right. And I don't, those very well may be Adams kit models that they just rammed, wires and thrusters up. I mean, they may have gone through the trouble of actually building larger scale ones. It would not shock me. I would love to find out if Toho used regular kit models for that or if they built their own. Because if they built their own, that's a lot of work for something that's on screen for 5 seconds.
Well, look at the X-15s they used in battle in outer space.
Oh, those were like freaking Aurora kits or something.
Yeah, they were, but I mean, they were obviously kits. And since they were bad-looking replicas, we knew they were the Aurora ones.
There you go. And hey, we can rag on
Sorry, Eric.
Aurora, which is kind of our pastime. It's what we do. But be honest, they got something to market before anybody else, and they sold 1 million of them.
They did.
Hello, Ken. Did you bring your ship interior background with you?
Nope.
Rodan, Rodan, Rodan. Keep those birdies flowing. But but I wanted to point that out that but it makes perfect sense though, because since most of those movies were made in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, height of the Cold War, they would have a Cold War aesthetic to them, and be using what the military would have had back then. So one could say they were being technically accurate. But
I was waiting to see the Army develop the Masers.
and I know what laser stands for. Did anybody ever come up with an acronym for Maser, or was it just a cool name they tried to give it?
Yeah, just a cool name.
But yes, that is the missile you would fight Godzilla with. So what are we talking about? 48 minutes in. But
48.
yeah. But like I was saying, the missile and rocket kits. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start getting some of these. And I went out on eBay and saw what people were asking for. I'm like, holy crap! I did not realize that. These are just things I wasn't that interested in before. Now that I've got an interest in them, they're bloody expensive. And some of them, like KMT, I think people are willing to pay a lot for them just because of relative rarity. But what shocked me was how expensive the Hawk kits have gotten. I have a Hawk Convair right here somewhere. And, well, I pulled it down, but I got a bunch of stuff stacked on top of it. But, oh, no, wait a minute. No, here it is. And I remember these little Hawk kits from when I was a kid. They were like 69 cents. And I thought I would, somebody gifted me this. And I thought, well, I'll build, and these don't even come with any clear parts because the openings are so small. And I thought, oh, I'll get one of these. People are wanting stupid money for this little basic hawk kit, which I built when I was like 9 years old. And it's not a bad little kit, nothing wrong with it. This one's already been taken out, but I'd forgotten that the kit's actually a little more involved than I remembered. But what I remember about this kit, I think I told you this. This kit, I can't look at this without thinking about the fact that this is the one time I lied to, well, not the one time. It's the first time I remember, no, it's not even the first time. It's one of the times I remember lying to my mom.
So Cass Wayne says maser is microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation.
Well, okay, so they came up with a backronym for it. I like that. Good.
So
good.
he gets the Geek Award of the Week.
Yeah, there you go. Ring the bell, ding. This was a 69-cent kit, if I remember correctly, or 50-cent kit. I'm sorry.
Actually, two of them did it.
Yeah.
Two of them came
Oh,
up.
good. All right.
Bill Paul.
Yeah, Bill Paul. Good on you guys. Nerd alert. Nerd alert. But I think I paid 69 cents for the kit, or maybe it was 50 cents. But here was the deal. I think I've told you guys before. I bought a hot dog at the dime store, which was like 20 cents or whatever. And I had $1 allowance. I mean, it took me 4 weeks to save $1.20. I got 30 cent a week allowance. Mind you, we're talking 68, 69.
Hey, Max. Stuart says models that you can't build because they're too expensive to me are like cars that are so expensive you can't drive them.
Oh yeah, no, I'll probably build this. I would probably already started on it, except I just built a Convair, so it'd be a little redundant. But I bought a hot dog, and which I wasn't supposed to have. You know, can anyone believe that I was snacking when I shouldn't have been? But
Never happens.
Yeah,
Never happens.
But I didn't have the $1.04 because I spent like 20 or 25 cents on a hot dog, right? So I had like 89 cents. So this is what I could afford. I wasn't really that interested in the kit, but it's what I could afford. So I came home, and I think I built it, and then I showed it to Mom, or maybe I showed it to her, and my mom just grabbed it and looked at it and goes, "You paid $1 for this?" And I'm like, you know, she goes, "This is I should call the store." No, I want the model. Don't do that. And I was like, "Please don't go find out I'm lying to you." And you know, cover it. And I started. This is when I understood Nixon. Cover up. But that may be the moment I became a Republican. I can't say that because we don't do politics here. But anyway, so be honest about it. But this kit has always been associated with that moment with me. I cannot escape it. And but
outrageous accusation.
But the thing is that my mom was a savvy. I mean, she was feeding 9 people on my dad's payroll. She knew what things were worth. That she could spot that this wasn't actually a $1 kit like that. She knew something ain't right. And I was like, okay, first off, never underestimate your mom again. But well, that's one of those memories that warms the cockles of my heart. Anyway, so I find I want every rocket and missile kit that I can get my hands on. And the Cold War missilery, I've started watching the old, you know, the old training videos and promotional videos are all over YouTube. And I started watching those things, and I'm like, this is the silliest thing to say, but it really makes me miss the Cold War. When we just had unbridled military spending, because think of the advancements we made, not just in rockets and missiles, but everything else. You know, electronic technology, transistorization. You know, this brought us so much stuff that we still use today. It's funny you should mention that, Dale. I was just watching a Willie Lay video yesterday. And I don't know. I guess part of it was back then there was still so much to do and so much to learn that they were making all these advances because there was so much advancement that was needed. Now we got Elon doing double landings, reusable spaceships, and everything else, and the rockets are going up so fast. Even the most hardcore rocket geek has trouble keeping track of all of the launches and everything. We turned space into a parking lot and a junkyard.
It's sci-fi from the 50s.
It is. We live in the future. That may be my favorite. I love one of my 10 favorite TV shows ever is Firefly. And probably the greatest one-liner in that, which I think comes from the movie Serenity, is he says, when Wash says, okay, reading minds and stuff, that's just like science fiction. And his wife just goes, sweetie, what, you live on a spaceship? And he's like, yeah, so?
Frank Field says, you sound like Buck Turgison.
An unofficial study done by this department shows that if we were to...
Where's my flying car and my robot?
My jetpack. Where's my jetpack? The best line from that 70s show when Red, they go, Red, what did you think the 1970s would be like? And he envisions the future, and he's wearing silver and has a jetpack. And when he comes back to reality, he goes, yeah, that's what I thought. And where the hell's my jetpack?
Bill Paul says it's gone from real to real.
I'm on the ground. Because you want in the air too?
Now I know the story.
Well, thanks, David. I appreciate that. The funny thing was, we were talking about the Honest John. The funny thing about the Honest John was this is the first nuclear-capable missile we ever had. Now, make no mistake, although it could carry a 1,500-pound warhead, they later came up with a sarin gas chemical warhead and a very nasty anti-personnel cluster bomb warhead, which I would not have wanted to go up against. But the real reason they designed it was the ability to toss a nuke. That's why it has the big warhead, so it could put the big, old W7 warhead in it, which is basically like the Hiroshima bomb. But you look at a rocket, you don't think field artillery, but that's what it was. But it had more range. The thing that the rocket had over tube artillery, of course, obviously there was not a cannon out there that wasn't on a battleship that could throw a 1,500-pound projectile. And it had a 15-mile range, which virtually no, especially with a 1,500-pound warhead, there wasn't any tube artillery that was going to match that in the 50s. Okay, but then also it didn't have the rate of fire of tube artillery. It couldn't be used in close. It had a lot of limitations. This supplemented the field artillery. It didn't replace anything, but it gave them a capability they didn't have.
I thought the battleships could launch Volkswagens.
They're not artillery, Ken. They're naval guns.
That's artillery.
There's no.
That's naval artillery.
No.
What do you
Very
call
bad, Kenny. Very bad, Kenny. Okay. Artillery is Army. Naval gunfire is Navy. Yes, they're both big tube guns, but trust me, there's a lot of differences in them. But also, 50-ton battleships can carry those things. 5-ton trucks can't. Okay?
Only 50 ton?
Depending, some of them, the South Dakota class is only 45 tons, and it had a 16-inch by 45 caliber rifles on it.
You mean 45,000 tons?
No. 16-inch by 45 caliber. The way a naval gun is measured is the diameter, like the 18-inch bore, times 45 gives you the barrel length.
Right.
That's called caliber in a naval gun.
Right. Yeah.
So a 45 caliber naval gun is 40.
Oh, you were talking caliber. I thought you said ton.
No. I said the only thing outside of a naval gun that could throw a 1-ton shell was, the Army did. The Army had a couple of. You got to remember, the Army's got to tow this stuff around. The Navy has these big ships that they're permanently mounted on, so they just float them around. Okay.
Kind of comes with the home.
Yeah. The Army has to be able to trailer this stuff. Can you imagine? I mean, the Germans put something like that. They had to put it on rails. They had to make rail guns out of them. That means they had to, and by the way, those German rail guns didn't use regular railroad track. They had to lay their own stuff. Those things were never worth. They're like the V2. They were just terror weapons. They were never worth the investment for the damage they actually did. For the Army to have an 18-inch gun or lob a 1,500-pound shell with a tube artillery, they would need at least probably a 14-inch gun, which would be in Army parlance. I think it's 25 millimeters per inch, so that'd be about a 300-millimeter gun. Okay? And they did have a few guns like that. Go look at them on YouTube. They got gargantuan barrels, are usually on tracks, they're poorly mobilized. The crews are always trying to fix the suspensions. I mean, it's a nightmare to move stuff like that around. They're definitely not air mobile. Okay? So, by the way, that's why the Army calls it the field artillery, because they're in a field and they're fielded in the field. Okay.
Fielded in a field?
Yes, that's why they call it the field, because you're out in a field. That's out in the field.
Not in the woods or.
Well, the
in
woods
the
are part of the
swamp
field. Fields can have woods.
Okay.
But the thing is that tube artillery is accurate, rapid firing, can shoot direct fire if it has to, and it's highly mobile. All right? You start dealing with stuff the size of naval guns, none of that applies. All right.
Did the Germans have the mouse?
It had a 5-inch gun on it, Ken. 125 millimeter.
What was
127.
what was the really
That
big
was the
one?
mouse. And
That
the
was the
gun
mouse.
and the gun on the mouse was the same size as one of those twin 5-inch mounts on a destroyer. By
Okay.
naval standards, the 5-inch, it's a great general purpose gun, but by naval standards, the 5-inch gun is a pop gun. By Army standards, it's a large artillery piece.
Frank Fields says the Army used old naval gun in the
coastal artillery. That is correct. Because they had to shoot at ships, and ships you need really big guns. And don't forget, those are fixed fortified positions. They're not mobile.
Right.
That's what separates like coastal artillery from the field artillery. Field artillery has to be mobile. In fact, when you say field, you basically imply mobility. Okay? When you say coastal, oh, that thing's bolted in the ground. It's never going anywhere. And yes, they did use naval guns. Heck, Nimitz even managed to get a couple of, I think it was 7-inch coastal Navy guns on the Midway before the attack. But the reason that guns like the 155 and the 105, which are pop guns by Navy standards, what?
Caswayne says the Army had a 36-inch mortar in World War II. It was sort of mobile.
Yeah. Yeah, they have the 203. And you got to remember, a 203 millimeter gun is basically an 8-inch Navy gun, which would be on a light cruiser or on a cruiser. All right. Again, by Navy standards, not that impressive. By Army standards, it's huge. But you have to remember, the Navy is shooting 20 odd miles away at armored ships. The Army is popping these rounds in the air to drop on infantry in the open.
I didn't bring my tablet.
Aww.
Everybody heard that.
I don't think she cares.
I don't think she cares either.
We need to go home.
Ken,
Everybody
just
is
give her the car.
laughing.
Just give her the car,
I
Ken.
need to go home.
Just give her the
Just
Ken.
give her the
Just
car,
give her the
yeah. I'll
keys.
stay here and wait for her.
But the
Oh, there's my tablet.
She just found it.
oh, great! Congratulations. That's excellent.
You'd have given her the keys first, Ken.
It's a good thing you're up in Delaware.
Steve said it.
Don't
Steve said I should have given you the keys first. Don't. I shouldn't have said that.
Never mind. Doesn't matter now. I didn't say nothing.
Driving in.
I
She
have
was
no.
seriously considering it, Steve.
Would have been cheaper to go to the Apple
Howdy,
store
Bob.
and just buy her another one.
Steve, she gets in the car. She's
Yeah,
driving to
that'll be a
Delaware.
lot cheaper, yeah. Throwing a frying pan, Mrs. Nix.
But the thing is that
throw a frying pan, Mrs. Nix.
they're telling you to do that.
Because I needed to go back and get your tablet.
Okay, 8-inch guns are on heavy cruisers. All right. Or as I call them, imitation battleships. So the thing is that a rocket like Honest John gave the field artillery naval type firepower, with something that they could tow around. And the thing you have to remember is they always show the guys all the support equipment and everything, but remember they can keep bringing in more rockets and use that same support equipment. Of course, the Honest John never actually, although I think they actually did deploy a couple of times and they never got fired in combat. But the idea of Army rockets was to enhance the field artillery with a capability they didn't have.
Oh, there was the space gun.
That was more of a research thing. That was never actually a weapon. Although supposedly Buell that was John Buell that was running that program. He's the one the Israeli Mossad popped up in Brussels, I think it was, because he was helping the Iraqis make their super gun. They had old documentaries about that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, well, you know, hey, they gave him plenty of warnings. He didn't listen. Here's a hint. If a gentleman with an Israeli accent tells you to stop helping a certain country develop a weapon and you come into your apartment and all the furniture's rearranged, take the hint. That was their warning that, you know, and so, okay. That one just had Mossad stamped all over it, down to the caliber pistol they used. And he had like $10,000 in cash on him that was left on his body. You know, it wasn't no robbery. That was right out of a James Bond movie. Anywho, and then I mean, I realize it's just where I come from, but when I get all these rockets built and lined up on the shelf, all I can think is I need to just put a Godzilla on the other side of the TARDIS. Because that's really what they're for. But you know, the psychological advantage of these weapons was their real bonus. I think one reason we never had to use the Honest John is because we had so many of them. God, they made like 7,800 of them. And but you think about it, it's just a gigantic Estes rocket. You know, the crew takes about 5 minutes to put it together and get it on the rail. They got to put a bunch of connectors for the spin motors, and they got to hook up the squib. And it's fired with a squib, all the glorified solar igniter that you would use to launch an Estes kit. And if you look at the footage that I got at the end of that video, they're firing with early Honest Johns. Ken, they launch the thing using the plunger type, like you see in the old Western movies where they use them to blow up dynamite. That sends a little current that pops the squib. They literally launch it, zzz, boom, you know. That's how until they.
That's high tech.
Candy just froze up, but I mean, it's a glorified bottle rocket, and yeah, they had a bunch of support equipment, you know, to get the wind and everything. But and when they came with the later model, that thing would go 30 miles with a nuke on it. I mean, you don't really have to be that accurate when you're dropping nukes. But
don't you need to be more than 30 miles away?
Well, the range is 30 miles. No, Ken. The blast radius on nukes a mile or two. These weren't the gigantic megaton bombs. These were like biggest one I think was a 40 kiloton. Which I mean, I don't mean to scoff. It's only 40 kilotons. You can only wipe out 4 city blocks in a blast. But no. 30 miles away, you're plenty far away.
Didn't they drop a 12.5 on Nagasaki? Wasn't it 12.5 kilotons to drop on Nagasaki?
That might have been Hiroshima. Nagasaki was bigger because it was the implosion bomb. I want to say.
Well, one of them was the 12.5 kilotons.
I forget. I think it was about a 20 KT. I could be wrong. Somebody out there knows. They'll put it in the comment section here shortly. I mean, it makes a lot more sense.
Caswayne says, I wouldn't be surprised to see a private lighting a long fuse to fire the Honest John.
It wasn't that far away from it. And the thing is that motor that it had was a proven motor. But apparently in the late 50s, they came up with a new compound to make the fuel. Because that's the other thing the Honest John had. It was solid fuel, like an Estes. So it was very storable. The propellants were solid. You know, you got some of these other rockets the Army's playing with, they had liquid fuel. Now, the Sergeant was solid, but I think the Corporal was liquid fuel. I mean, you had to play with all those daggum chemicals, right? That was fun.
The Fat Man was 20 kiloton.
Okay, so Little Boy was, maybe it was like 11 kiloton. So this thing had about the same boom.
I think Little Boy was 12.5.
Yeah, so this had about the same boom as Fat Man, which is one reason it was so boldest. But that was a later warhead. That was, I think, the W-31 warhead. But the I'm sorry. The W7 had the 20 kiloton. Now it was variable yield. You could have less. You could get down like 2 kilotons if you just want to take out a spot target and it'll wipe out the whole town. But having these things sprinkled all over Europe, pointed to the Fulda Gap, definitely gave the Russians pause. And the weapon, I think it's a perfect testament to how successful the weapon was, that it never had to be used. Its deterrent value. And unlike other missiles, it could not be jammed. Lacrosse and some of these others that were guided by radio waves, they not only could be jammed, they could be hijacked. And that's one of the reasons lacrosse only had like a 5 or 6 year service life. But also electronic technology was moving so fast, and in lacrosse you had to hand it off. You know, the launch team would send it, and then a guy down range had to pick it up and carry it to the target, which is why it was called lacrosse. It's a common lacrosse tactic. You know, you throw the thing to a guy who catches it and it's thing down range. Anyway, but and a lot of people make models of the Honest John. Just about every kit model maker out there, even like Sanwa and some of these others. But you try to find these kits today on eBay or something, people want stupid money for them, obviously because of the rarity. And and now you see Honest Johns. They made so many of them that they never used. That's one of the reasons they're so prolific as gate guards, and you see them outside of commercial businesses. Apparently, in the 60s or 70s, or whenever these things started hitting the market unused, you know, they pull a rocket motor. You're just getting a hollow tube in the shell and the fins. The whole guts are gone. But you see them in front of pawn shops and metal works yards and surplus and salvage places because they were cheap, and the military was looking to get rid of them. Museum wants one here. Take a W-33 trailer with it.
It'd be funny if somebody forgot to demilitarize one.
That would not be funny, Ken. They set that motor off by accident. Somebody's going to wind up with a boo-boo. But
you ever go to Amarillo?
Never been there. I've been past it. I've never been there.
About 30 miles outside of town. That's where they take apart all the old nuclear weapons.
Aha, good. That's where it needs to be, out in the middle of the desert.
Yep.
And that's where our science fiction movie's going to begin.
That's right.
Amarillo, 1965. Hey, don't forget, Them wasn't a science fiction movie. It was a documentary.
Yeah.
But, hey, the minute I see a 12-foot ant, I'm hitting the accelerator and running.
You gotta know it's true. They're real.
There ain't a can of Raid big enough.
So when the military stops you at the checkpoints, go, what did you see? Not a thing. But you should go check it out anyway.
It's right behind me. It's coming.
That's what I love about the movie Tarantulas, when the two state troopers, take our car, we'll take your car, Doc. I'm like, said no cop ever.
Yeah.
And when the Tommy guns don't work, the car was, it's flooded. And I'm kind of like freaking Cadillac. Yeah. But I'm like, they're just walking out of the thing, ripping open with their Tommy guns. Like, yeah, I see a 100-foot diameter tarantula. I'm just going to go up with a pistol caliber submachine gun and walk up like I'm going to order a soda pop, you know.
Jimmy Costco says my hometown in Pennsylvania had a Corporal missile.
Yeah, the Corporals, a lot of them were unused. They also became gay. Well, I used to see a lot of maces. Maces. They had one from the VFW down in Panacea. And they had to take it off the pole because it rusted. My brother, when everyone was laying on the grass, and we were jumping on that thing playing fighter pilot, you know. So. Okay, the movie Tarantula with, was that John Agar?
John Agar and Mara Corday.
Now,
And Leo G. Carroll.
who played, in one of his earliest roles, who played the fighter pilot whose voice you hear, but he's got the mask on so you never see his whole face?
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. And
I remember that movie. I remember seeing it as a kid on TV.
me too. I loved it. I thought it was a
Okay.
great Saturday sci-fi movie.
Okay, what related piece of trivia? The Town. Where have you seen The Town?
I don't know.
It's The Town in Back to the Future.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Related, not to, actually it might be. And I don't think
So
it's
time machines do exist.
Yeah.
the fountain.
Yes, Doc Ken.
the end of the Omega Man. The fountain where Charlton Heston is killed.
Yeah, I remember that.
Where did we later see that fountain in pop 90s television?
Friends.
Friends. That's the fountain that they're all dancing and playing in at the beginning.
Oh.
And the song, my son goes, that's the Pepsi Summer Cooler song. I'm like, yeah, it is. There's a commercial.
So, by the way,
Steve,
You got it,
Steve-O, the
Sluggo.
soothsayer.
That's right, Sluggo. You got it.
Steve-O
Leo
the
G.
True
Carroll
Sayer.
was
Leo
over a
G.
barrel.
Carroll was over a barrel when Tarantula took to the hills. And
who played the spider.
I think his name was Cornelius, but
No, it was Peter.
Peter was a stunt double. Cornelius did the close-ups.
No. Peter. Think about that for a second.
Peter Pumpkin Eater?
No. Come on. Think, Max. Steve got it.
What? Wait, we're talking about spiders?
Yeah,
Peter.
Peter.
I mean, maybe Charlotte, but I don't know Peter. I'm not making a connection here.
Spider-Man.
Peter Parker? Well, that's a stretch.
Yes.
I was thinking Charlotte. Charlotte's Web, at least she was a real spider.
Here we go. John Ashley says, I remember running from sirens from my early childhood, waiting for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah, look, Don got it.
Yeah,
Don Lee.
I
Well,
got it.
fine.
Wild Dad got it.
Yeah, well, everybody's screaming at the screen. Max is Peter Parker.
And my blonde is showing. But anyway.
Now, what was one of the best scenes in old sci-fi movies?
Oh
What-
God, that's a which, because there's so many.
The part in what the hell was the name of the movie? Oh, the one with the one where the Rhedosaurus is in the
From 20,000, the monster from 20,000 Fathoms.
maybe the one where the cop shoots at him with a 38 and
Yeah.
he just picks him up and swallows him in his mouth. I thought that was cool.
And you see that same cop in a later, actor. Yeah. Like, apparently he spit him out, but I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna shoot at a 80-foot tall dinosaur with a 38 caliber pop gun, and but the well, what?
Jim Potts Sound and Vision says, that's how Penguin got that submarine in Batman. From an unsuspecting U.S. Navy.
With the flippers.
Yeah, with flippers on it.
There's what you do if you got another submarine model you don't know what to do it with. It's a Gato class. Just make the Penguin sub with flippers.
Because that's so much more efficient.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know. Are you a hydrodynamicist?
Actually, somebody, believe this or not, somebody did a study on how efficient a duck is more than a ship.
I can top that. The Navy spent millions of dollars trying to make a mechanical bionic reproduction of a yellowfin tuna because it's apparently like the fastest fish. And they showed it. And the Navy, with all its resources, because they were considering doing that to propel submarines, and they said they just mechanically could not duplicate it. It was too hard.
Here we go. Super PLZ says, I always wondered if the Russians would attack on the day and time we tested the CD sirens.
We were sitting in class in junior high school saying, well, if the Russians are going to attack, now's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Because you would have to duck and cover because the best place to be in a thermonuclear explosion is under kindling.
At duck and cover.
Oh, they were twice a month? Wow. Wild Dad says the air raid sirens in his town in the 50s, 60s were tried twice a month.
Sluggo says, my buddies and myself are afraid to play outside after dark because of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Well, that's like they said the movie, what was the one with Glenn Close, Fatal Attraction?
Fatal Attraction.
They said that did more to end hookup culture for 5 years than anything else.
Yeah.
So,
No, I remember when The Exorcist came out. I went with a bunch of my buddies, and we went to like the midnight show. We drove around all night till the sun came up till we got home. Like, no.
roll the windows up. That's like, what's her name, Callista Flockhart in The Langoliers. When they're going after the airplane, she looks out the window and sees one of them out there. She just shuts the window. Don't you dare open that. So I was over at Hurricane Hobbies the other day, and I saw there was some more models on display. and some of them were actually really, really nice. I don't know if they were Brett's builds or someone else's, but there's a lot of nice work in there. And like, I thought about taking some of my models just to get them off the shelf and go, hey, you want to put these on display? But he's kind of out of space for stuff. Plus, I'm not putting my stuff up next to Brett's. But some of these, yeah.
Speaking of, what's
Mhm.
going on with the Shinden?
He's working on it. He works on it when he has in the mood and has time. He's got a lot going on, but he is working on it. He sent me some pictures of the update. He's got all the interior paint, including all the framing and everything. Stuff we'll never see. Yeah, but it'll be as complete on the inside as the outside. And I think he's weathering it right now. But
Oh, so it's all put together?
well, I don't know if he's weathering it before he puts it all together. Speaking of which, I was out working on the Buffalo, that Tamiya Brewster Buffalo. I found this stencil was very, very handy for painting that ring around the nose. The nose is two-tone. It's sky on one color and the other. Came out really nice. I'm going to have to remember that little trick for the future. The brown I put on it turned out was a little too dark, so I lightened it up and resprayed the model. It's looking a lot better now. And I decided to go ahead and just decal it before I went any further. I really like those Tamiya decals, but I just got to be careful when I'm handling, get the gear on it, the prop and everything. But it's getting close to being done. This kit has been an absolute joy to build. I think this is the one that Chris gave me, but I'm letting it harden overnight. I got Solvaset on everything before I try to put, because you put decals over decals on it, before I put the squadron letters and stuff, airplane numbers and everything on it, and then I'll put the landing gear and prop and antenna on it and pretty much be done. But I use the airbrush on the top part, and it's I highly recommend this kit if anybody wants a Buffalo kit. I've built several Buffalo kits from Airfix, and they're fine, but this one's just been a real joy to build. And hopefully we get a chance to get out there and get to it in a couple of days. The next, I've got another one that I'm going to make that I'm going to probably put in the Danish markings. And not Danish, Dutch markings.
Castwayne says in North Dakota they call it the Brewster Tatanka.
Tatanka?
Tatanka?
What is it, Indian?
Maybe Tatanka is a word for buffalo. But
I saw Jaws and the next day went to Hawaii. Forgot about it for a few days and then I saw a shark.
by the way, there's something I wanted to talk about. I got these in the mail today from a glue trooper. I think I know who sent it to me, but there was no note because it was sent locally. What?
He says, how bad does the fighter need to be for the officer buying it to get one look and say, let's call this one a Buffalo?
I don't know. But, well, it does have that look.
Of a Buffalo?
Well, it's a round, portly thing. Anyway.
That is an odd thing to call an aircraft. You know, like tiger or shark or...
Yeah,
you know,
well, they took one look at its portly
buffalo?
features. I mean, what are you going to call it? The guppy? So anyway,
Finish.
I got these paints today in the mail, and I think I know who sent them, but I haven't confirmed it yet. They were sent by a glue trooper, but they were sent locally, so there was no return address. Anyway, these are the SMS paints, which I've heard a lot of good stuff about, but I have never used them, and I'm assuming that they're already pre-thinned for the airbrush. If anybody's got any experience using these things, pop me off your advice in an email or something, because before I go using them, I want to make sure I'm using them right, because these are nice paints and they're not cheap. And I've got the black. I know you got to put the black on before you put the metal colors on, but I think these are lacquers, but yeah, they're lacquers, but I haven't used them, and I want to make sure I use them right. And I'm going to dig out a kit that needs to be metallized just to use this stuff on.
Good to Kill and Castwayne both say that Tatanka is Sioux for buffalo.
Oh, there you go. Tatanka. Okay.
in Dancing with the Wolves.
Give me a home with a buffalo room, and I'll show you a house full of poop.
Okay, Castaway said, seriously, the British Purchasing Commission named it a buffalo because they felt the plane resembled a buffalo in profile.
Well, I agree.
And it came from America.
So, okay, there you go. But I agree. It's got a very portly look to it. And
Frank Field says it's more cute than deadly.
actually, I'm going to tell you, Jimmy Thatch of the U.S. Navy, who developed the Thatch Weave, and later became a 4-star admiral. Jimmy Thatch flew the Buffalo, the Navy version, when Brewster first came out with it, before the Marines loaded it down with armor plate. And it did not have any armor plate, and it did not have self-sealing fuel tanks. It was built basically like a Zero. All right? And he said the airplane, despite its appearance, was an absolute joy to fly. It was fast. It had a good roll rate. It was spry. I believe Greg over at Greg's Aircraft and Automobile said that it did not have a dive speed limit.
It probably couldn't get going fast enough.
Well, there was no Mach limit on the wing. It had light firepower, but that was very common for planes of that era, just to have some rifle caliber machine guns. But the Navy really liked the airplane for its speed, range, and maneuverability. The problem was that technology was advancing very fast. Now, the landing gear on the airplane is this weird landing gear that unfortunately turned out could not handle the rigors of carrier work. So there are a lot of gear collapses. So they said, okay, the Navy's not going to be able to use these. It beat the first Wildcat in a fly-off by no small margin. Grumman went back and redesigned the Wildcat, the one that we knew, and they won the second fly-off.
Boynton said the F-2 could turn around in a phone booth.
Yeah, it was very maneuverable. It was very light.
Until the Navy loaded it up with all that gear.
That was actually the Marine Corps. The F-2A-3, which was the Marine Corps version, the Marines, remember, they do a lot of ground attacks, so this makes a lot of sense. The Marines said, look, we need self-sealing fuel tanks and we need armor plate. So they put, I forget, I've heard as much as 800 pounds, I don't know if it was that much, on the airplane. And you've got to remember, unlike a jet, these things don't have that much surplus power. They're radial engine pistons, right? But they didn't up the power on it. It had the same engine. So, of course, it flew like a dog with all that extra weight on it. It would be, and, of course, when it was Japanese, they got slaughtered. But the export versions, the 339, which this is, that the Finns had, the Finns did great work with it. Especially in the cold climate where it was more efficient. The Dutch and the British, actually, if you watch like Showtime 112, he's profiled some of their battles. They actually gave the Japanese a pretty good run for their money. But the Japanese, first off, they were flying its Nates that had a fixed gear and was extremely agile. But the problem was that the Japanese had them outnumbered. And I mean, badly outnumbered. They'd send 6 Buffaloes or 8 Buffaloes up against 30 Japanese fighters. So, of course, and they shot down quite a few Japanese bombers and no small number of fighters. Now, when the Zero showed up, that was all she wrote. But the British and the Dutch were having all kinds of logistics problems, getting us spare parts, keeping the airplanes operating. I mean, it was uphill battle from day one. And
Stuart Gregory says, I hear the biggest problem Brewster had was Brewster.
Yes. That Brewster had all kinds of quality control issues. In fact, the government wound up taking the factory over from them eventually. Brewster was contracted to make Corsairs later in the war. And again, they had all these quality control issues. So all of the Brewster Corsairs were used as trainers. And none of them went into combat. Brewster made the Buccaneer. They made about 80 of those. That was a complete boondoggle. And the Navy wound up using them as target tugs and stuff. My old company headquarters. Huh?
Sluggo says, plus Japanese pilots were on meth.
The Germans were on pervitine, which is basically a form of meth. That explains why they marched through Europe the way they did in high gear. Go watch Mitzi Studios' little thing on the Blitzkrieg. It's pretty funny.
Dale Comer says, Max seems to be obsessed with the Buffalo.
I think it is an airplane that deserves a rehabilitation for its reputation. It's even in the book, the world's 10 worst airplanes. And it's true, the Dash 3 model kind of deserves that. But the other models, if you took that design, made it a company that didn't have the quality control problems, up to 1939 it was a viable airplane. By 1940 it was just outdated. But you fight the war with the equipment that you have. And
maybe it'll be in Top Gun 3.
But the
I actually just got finished watching Top Gun 2 just a few minutes ago. It was fun.
But it was not a.
I really like the part where he gets into the F-14.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I shot down 3 MiGs in one of those.
Yeah, his backseater says, yeah, we're going to get this museum piece into the air.
I remember that airplane was brand new. Yeah, it is. Oh, by the way, they're getting an F-14 flying again for the Navy to take to like air shows.
Yeah, I heard about that somebody wanted to put one together.
And I think the Navy's helping them. But, they carved a lot of them up to keep the Iranians from getting the parts and everything. And they've caught people trying to illegally sell them stuff. They've whited a lot of museum pieces and everything. And I don't think that's much of a threat now. But
actually, I heard that the Iranians couldn't even get the 14s off the ground. They were shooting missiles from them from the ground.
I haven't heard that, but who knows? I do know that the Iranians scored a lot of kills with them fighting the Iraqis and their regional wars. They actually scored quite a few victories. And in that part of the world, Third World Rate Air Force fighting the Fifth Rate Air Force, they were still a killer elite.
In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
Yeah. But you got to remember, it's more than just the airplane matters, and the guy and the person in it matters too. But you have to remember, it's a lot more than that. It's how good your military intelligence is, how good your radar is, how good your support infrastructure is. You can have a second-tier aircraft, but if you've got good logistics and well-trained people, there's so many factors in what makes a successful military operation. The equipment is important, but it doesn't decide the war. One could argue, the Germans had the biggest, toughest tanks out there. They lost the war. And, they had jet fighters, but they couldn't keep them flying. They couldn't keep the pilots trained. They couldn't keep them alive. So what's that old saying about when war breaks out, the armchair generals talk strategy, the real generals talk logistics. And what would the Germans have done? Let's say that they had taken all of Europe. How are they going to get Tiger tanks to America?
When they made that transportation device that Andre Delhomme was working on in the fly, they would have been able to do it.
Yeah, you guys wait for that. But
Roger Chris says, I think I've heard this too. He heard that during the first Gulf War, whenever one of our F-14 locked onto the Iraqi fighters, the Iraqis immediately bugged out, never even tried to fight.
I don't blame them. That's like
probably none ever came back from the fight.
That's like you're sneaking through the dark with a club and you hear a shotgun rack. You're like, you know what? I think I'll leave. And by the way, people talk about the F-22 or the F-35. All right, they don't operate self-contained. They've got digital data links. They're supported by entire satellite systems.
It's a web of
exactly,
of systems.
And every part's critical, and down to the crush velour ejection seat. You realize air shows have shot down more American airplanes than the enemy?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I know. Hey, look, everybody got out okay, so I get to poke fun at it. They threw away a T-38 the other day. Down here in the South, I don't know what happened. Just the guys punched out.
Yeah, I heard about that too. They
They surrendered because they were hungry. That's right. And that gets back to logistics. You can't feed your soldiers. The army runs on its stomach. You know, you can't feed your troops. They're not going to be able to fight.
That's right. You got to give them good food.
Think about this. If I want to take a country without all of the usual accoutrement, death and destruction, mayhem and disease, how about I just drop one bomb on their power grid? Bottle up a couple of ports so they can't get any fuel in, and just wait. Siege tactics.
That's what's going on in Cuba.
Basically.
Or just build an Amazon distribution center on their border.
And the McDonald's.
McDonald's, yeah, there you go.
There's an old joke, Gitmo, you know, Guantanamo Bay. They have a little Dunkin' Donuts and a little American
Burger King,
all that stuff there. And talk about how the Cubans just look at it with binoculars and just you can smell it cooking,
and the wind blows in the right direction.
And they're kind of like, hey, if you want to lay down your gun and come on over. Yeah. But what was that movie Sahara with Bogart? You know, you want water? Lay down your guns. One gun, one cup of water. But the
Sligo says morale. That's why cat houses are good for war.
Ask General Hooker. Why do you think they're called hookers? General Hooker. He ran on a bunch of.
Says amateurs discuss tactics, professionals discuss logistics.
That's right. Now think about this. Supposedly, and I happen to believe this, that when aircraft fly into Gitmo, they have to make this hairpin turn because they're not allowed to go outside the fence. Sometimes they want to use the other runway. But the Cuban controllers still tell them, what approach to do. And they go, if the Marines bring the Cuban air traffic controllers a couple of dozen Krispy Kreme donuts, they get the good approach. If they don't, the guys have to make the hairpin turn in cargo planes, I'm like, that sounds completely plausible. By the way, you do know at Gitmo that they allow Cubans onto the base who work domestic work and everything, and and then they pay them in U.S. dollars, and so
you should pay them in auto parts.
Actually, my understanding is to keep those cars running by using old grinding down Russian truck parts.
That's what they use.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the old American cars have Russian Jeep motors in them.
Hey, man, you know what? They are resourceful and rugged people.
They are.
Whatever makes it go.
I did have a good steak in Iraq, Kuwait, Shah, but it was a mass casualty exercise for the plastic sword. I hate it when they give you a good steak in plasticware.
Might as well just give you chopsticks.
I love Sea Rats and John Wayne bars. There's a John Wayne bar is this hard chocolate disc, comes in a foil, and you get two of them in there, and they're just called John Wayne bars. It's a really hard candy, especially when they're cold. And one thing I learned is that when you're in the Arctic, up in Alaska or whatever, we used to have the heat tablets, and we had sea rations. You'd open like spaghetti and put it over the heat. Well, the bottom heats, but the top doesn't. So the whole spaghetti frozen just comes out. You don't want to know what we called it, but I was like, I'm not eating that.
Frank Kushmak, I don't know, whatever, said Gitmo had a great EM club. What's an EM club?
Enlisted Men's Club. Yeah, it's they're the richest people on the island. I'm sure they are. No, the old Sea Rats had cigarettes. By the time I went in, they got rid of them. Used to get, I think it was a 3 or a 4 pack. I think it was Cools or was it Chesterfields? I think those were the two that they put in there. But
those make good barter to trade with the enemy.
No, Ken, you shoot the enemy.
Civilians.
Yeah.
Make good barter to trade with the civilians.
Civilians, nothing. You trade it with the other GIs. I don't smoke. Here, give me your John Wayne cookies and give me your John Wayne bars. You can have my smokes. The thing they also came with, I had one of those around here for a while. I had the old brown pack. You tear it open. There was the folded up thing of toilet paper. There was sugar, creamer. Oh, crap. What else is in there? Not a napkin.
James Coast said Lucky Strikes.
Lucky Strikes. Those are okay. And that was one of the problems I got with the Kevlar helmets. You used to be able to heat up your steel pot and get boiling water so you could shave and stuff in your helmet. You can't do that with the Kevlar stuff. Um,
John
but,
Wayne toilet paper.
well, that's the folded up. They gave you this folded up thing of toilet paper, and sea rations have like 3,000 calories in them. They're designed for the guy, because I know the guys that are eating sea rats. You're probably on the march carrying a rucksack or whatever. They are quite a bit in there, and
Yeah, you
getting
need
sea
the
rats
energy.
from World War II.
In Alaska,
The fruit cocktail was popular, and the pound cake was popular. The thing you could not give away was the fruit cake. We used those as hand grenades. We threw them at the other guys.
In
What's wrong with the
those
fruitcake?
guys that work on the fishing
Well,
boats.
first off, it's a fruit cake. What?
Do I get a word in?
Yeah,
here,
sorry,
guys?
I just had to respond to that one.
Okay. Again, the guys who work on the fishing boats in Deadliest Catch, those guys eat about 8,000 calories a day.
Mm-hmm. They replaced the sea ration with the MREs, Meals Ready to Eat, which used to call LRPs, Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol rations. But those things were different. It took a lot of getting used to also, but the quality, they were lighter and the content was better. But one thing we did at the end of a field problem, when you got back, if you were doing a real tactical field problem, you dumped your rucksack, you better have every empty can or wrapper on there. You weren't allowed to leave that stuff behind. Because guys
The enemy
left
could
out,
figure
the
out how
enemy
many
could
people
figure out,
there.
yeah, exactly. They could figure stuff out from that. How long ago you were there, all that. If you didn't take it with you, they had to see you bury it.
Roy said, "Don't forget the chiclets." Were the chiclets in those things?
Yeah, they had this gum in them, yeah, they're like chiclets. And the magic land of chiclets.
Night, Trey.
Night, Trey, take care. But
Night, Trey.
we were on the Air Force. They gave us Air Force boxed lunches, and those are made fresh. And they had like snack pack pudding and ham and cheese sandwiches and bananas and all this other stuff. I'm like, man, these guys eat real food. Digestible
Hey, I had
stuff.
MREs. The guys are putting down MREs. I've had those. Those are actually pretty good.
Meals rejected by everybody. Yeah, I don't know, Ken. Eat them for a week. And a lot, boil in a bag. Although the spaghetti was a big hit.
And what was fun is that for some, I guess somebody just to have fun, they would say, "Yeah, the MREs are good, but don't eat the whatever it was that day." He said, "They're terrible." And I guess the staff just got used to it, that for some reason they had all these extra ones left over because everybody kept saying, "Don't eat those, don't eat those."
I do have IP38 somewhere, and I do remember the big one, the B52, which is the can openers. And
Jim Checkluck says, "Eat MREs for a week. You can't poop for two."
yeah, they're gut stoppers.
Maybe it just gets all used up.
Trey, when's your retirement party? But the
The commercial with Trapper John Nurse. Chris Norris, she was the Chiclets girl.
yeah, you could use cigarette cans to make little stoves. I mean, little sterno stoves out of them. They had the blue tabs, which you did not want to inhale that crap. Oh my God, it would burn your eyes. And I've forgotten about all this stuff. The worst thing in the Army was the worst thing. Worse than the PT, worse than all the sweat and all the tears. The worst thing was on cold, these cold Kentucky mornings and stuff. You're up in Alaska, and you're in this nice warm sleeping bag, and it's time for everybody to get up. And you got to get out a nice warm sleeping bag into the bitter cold.
Yeah.
I'm like, this
Yeah.
is not fun. Even the Somalis wouldn't check the MREs.
I heard stories from guys who were in Vietnam that were on the artillery crew. It says they used to throw bags of powder onto the fire and freak out the new guys because they thought it was going to explode. It just burns. It doesn't explode.
Well, I've run out of stuff to. I've covered the few things I had. Didn't have a lot of time to get ready because there's a lot of stuff going on today.
Let's talk about tomorrow's race.
Okay, tell you what, you guys do that. I'll be back in just a second. Go ahead. Tomorrow is what the Indy?
Indy 500.
Okay, who's your odds-on favorite?
I don't know. I think Malukas. Hello?
What?
No, nothing. Anybody watch the Wiener 500? With the Wienermobiles?
How many of those are there running around?
6.
Really, that many?
There were 6 or 8 of them. They had them on. No, there were 6 of them, and they had them yesterday. And they each represented a different type of hot dog, and they raced. It's like 5 laps.
I read that a long time ago that
Coup to kill and nothing. NASCAR counts as a race.
I read that one of those I think maybe it's Hot Rod or something like that. You know how they do evaluations of cars? You know, they go out and run around the track and handling and all that fun stuff. Well, in one issue, somebody decided to do a Wienermobile. And you know how they do time to like 35 miles an hour and time to 60 and stuff like that? Well, the Wienermobile didn't even make it to 60.
No, that's about the top speed, is 60.
It topped out before it got to 60.
Because I can't think they're extremely aero that once you get past that, the front of the wiener would start lifting it up. But, you know.
What were those things like on the inside? Did they finish them, or were they just?
Oh yeah, no, they're really plush inside. They have like big captain's chairs, and they're carpeted and they're air conditioned. It's really nice inside. Didn't you ever have one go to the supermarket near you?
No,
we had one went to the supermarket here like 2 years ago. I had to go see it. I was like,
oh really?
oh yeah. And then they grill hot dogs because they always have it at a supermarket. So they have a grill going and they give everybody hot dogs. And then they give you little Wienermobile whistles.
Okay.
But yet nobody has ever made a model kit of the Wienermobile.
All you can get's the whistle.
Yeah. No, they make promo ones, but nobody's ever made a plastic kit of one.
I'm guessing that has to do with rights or something. Or maybe they just think it won't sell.
Well, it's not exactly a sexy car.
No.
Speak
But
for
it's
yourself,
neat.
Ken. I happen to love hot dogs.
I get this mental image in my head with the Wienermobile going down the road with Max behind it with a fork and a knife.
That's my next AI-generated cartoon.
That would be funny.
Hold on. You guys keep talking. You just gave me a really bad idea.
Oh, good. I like bad ideas.
Okay, I got to do something. So you guys keep going.
No. NASCAR. No. NASCAR is just an accident waiting to happen.
Road Track did a full spread on the Budweiser wagon and Clydesdales. 8 horsepower twin inline 4.
Hey, I remember when I worked at Matchbox and we owned AMT. They came out with the Budweiser Clydesdale wagon and horses. They sold the hell out of that kit, and if you try to find them today, they're really expensive.
Well, that's because they're rare.
Bill. I want that. I love that vehicle. I have the old Hot Wheels diecasts.
Yeah, Hot Wheels made a diecast of the Wienermobile.
From number 18. Somebody liked my idea. KLS&C liked it.
Yeah.
You're going to love what I'm doing here in a couple of minutes when I get it done.
Uh-oh.
Max is mastering AI video.
Oh, meanwhile, so to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America, Atlantis is coming out with the Tom Daniel rod roller in red, white, and blue.
Okay.
So I'm sure people will be rushing to the store to get that. Limited edition. It's only going to be like 3,000.
David Bale says NASCAR is the 5 o'clock drive home.
Oh, Ken, you are going to love this.
Hot Wheels now makes a monster truck version of the Wienermobile.
Yes, they do. James Dodson, John Wayne toilet paper, rough and tough and doesn't take crap off anybody.
That's why they call it John Wayne toilet paper. Okay. Who was it? Frank Field says, Max, by the way, the Honest John song was great.
Oh, glad you liked it. Okay, here's something, Ken, you are just going to love this. Let me just grab that there. Gosh, got to click a lot of buttons. Okay.
You ought to teach a class on this, you know. There'd be people signing up.
All right, Ken, here you go. It'll take about 15 seconds for it to get to you.
Well, I can see it live. I'm watching you on Zoom.
Yeah, but you're not seeing the image. It'll.
Oh, you're playing it on the other thing, on YouTube.
I can see
Yeah.
it, yeah.
It gets everybody at a different rate of speed depending on your connectivity. It takes about 15 seconds for it to loop back to me. You're in a hotel. It may take a little bit longer. But it's a bit of a drag today. Maybe even running a little bit longer on the. I'm watching it on my phone to see if it when it pops up. But
Oh, okay. Wild Dad says he sees it.
see, everybody gets it at a different. Everybody gets the feed at it. There it goes on mine. Did it come up on yours?
I haven't got it yet.
Okay.
Drum roll, please. Cartoon Max looks more pissed than hungry.
Oh, he's trying to get away.
Where's your mustard and relish? I still don't see it.
Yeah, you're on either telephony or hotel Wi-Fi, which is probably pretty slow.
KOSC says, Max, that was my thought exactly.
Oh, I wish I could catch.
Okay, there we go. I see it now.
I wish I could catch the Oscar Mayer wiener. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
It's a classic.
I thought you'd like that. Well,
As it speeds away, yeah, right.
hurry up! He's getting away.
Somebody gets out and starts pushing.
That's a T-shirt, man.
There you go. That's good for it. Fast food.
Fast food.
There you go.
Any wiener-shaped UAP pics yet? Oh my, 13-year-old me is laughing on the floor. Oh, now do Godzilla chasing it. Oh, I'm not gonna
Godzilla
say
and
that
Max
one.
fighting for it.
That one, JM Child Check. Nope, not doing that one. Hot dog to go. Somehow I won.
But I don't think I had anything else.
I sent you an email.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay, here's the. Let me share something real quick here. The paint. It's what I suspected it was. These paints that were sent to me, this SMS paints, are from David Orr, who we had on the show last week. And he says that, yes, make sure to give them a really good shake, especially the primers. Aluminum is best over gloss black. And he goes on some details and stuff. But he just sent me those as a thank you for some stuff I sent him. But here we have some missile builds here from Brian. Okay. Oh, yep, there's your SAM 2. I didn't realize till I started building the Nike Ajax and the SAM 2, the SA2 look a lot alike because they're basically the same thing. I mean, same mission. Okay, let me check. That was the wrong email. Probably having two of them now. One of the things I love about building models, though, is when you go down in the weeds on this stuff, you just learn a lot of cool stuff. You know, maybe not anything that. Oh, Chris, I just got your email, so sorry. Let's see. Here we go. New from Atlantis. Tom Daniel. Yeah, I actually got the email from them that they're
okay.
doing,
Oh, Don Lee Cartoon says, Max riding Godzilla chasing the Wienermobile.
Hold on, I got to make a note of that one.
Yeah, that should be the next intro to all your videos.
Unreal
And
Roller
Max going, okay, Godzilla, cook it.
Saddle up.
We're going to cook that wiener.
Let's see if we got enough time to crank this out.
He's going to actually do it. Okay. Okay, David Doris says, I got them sent from the USA Gundam store in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I think he means direct to Max.
Yes, he did. Hey, that's a clever way to get around the whole tariff thingy.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
KOSNC hits the nail on the head. Now to be serious, Memorial Day is to remember our fallen military that died so today we are free.
Absolutely, amen.
Freedom is not free.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Well,
a lot of people don't seem to.
It is if you're an illegal alien.
Ouch. No politics, although I don't think anyone's going to disagree. Oh,
Okay.
wow. That came out better than I expected.
Garfield says, Max driving the Wienermobile while being chased by Godzilla.
Nope, you're going to like this one better.
You just text me something?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's your parole officer.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. It's kind of my standard throwaway joke for that.
Or the hotel manager informing you they towed your car away.
Well,
No, they call you on the room phone for that. Actually, one time a few years ago when I was in Orlando for the pinball convention, at like 1 o'clock in the morning, the phone goes off, and I answer the phone. They said, "We need you to come down to the office." And I'm thinking, why? It's just not real. Well, it's something important. We need you to come down to the office. And I put two to two together, and I said, "What happened to my car?" Because that's the only thing I could think of. And they said,
all we can say for certain is that there were teenagers, beer, and there was a bonfire.
Actually, it turned out what happened is somebody had stolen an iPhone from somebody, and they were driving around the parking lot trying to avoid the cops, and they ran into my car and the one next to us.
Wow, you talk about tangential damage.
That's what happens when you go to a Motel 6, Ken.
Or Red
It
Roof.
wasn't a Motel 6. It was a nice motel.
There you go, Ken.
There you go. Look at that.
You got it yet, Ken?
Surfer gray, Surfacer gray,
No.
Surfacer black.
No. This is past the paints. Ken's getting a slow download. He's probably got extra,
Okay,
slow.
now we're back to us.
Okay, you'll have it in a little bit. But this is my every Friday night. Don't ask, Max will never tell.
That's what the saddle is for. The title of that picture is The Hunt. Okay. It still hasn't showed up. Wow, this is really slow in here.
Yeah, well, you'll get it in a minute. And even if we say goodbye, you can always just stay online. It'll pop up eventually.
Aren't Model 6 facilities nice?
Nice is a relative term.
Fun
Oh,
size,
God, that's my
Godzilla.
fetish. Jeez.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, there we go. Oh, man. Max, you got too much time in your hands.
Too much
whip that
time
up
on
quick.
my hands.
You whip that up quick.
Yeah, sometimes it happens fast, and sometimes it don't.
Well, the clock on the wall says
It's that
we're running out
time.
of time.
My wife makes sure in these things by she starts cooking it. Yeah. And,
You better watch out. Godzilla will get in there before you.
when it
Max,
comes
you
to
ought to send
this,
this picture
I
off to
am
Oscar
Godzilla.
Mayer.
Hmm?
You ought to send this picture off to Oscar Mayer. I think he might appreciate it.
Well,
Maybe
that's
they'll send you a free case of hot dogs.
I think that's a wrap for the evening, guys. So I'll let you say your goodbyes, and we'll let the nice people go.
Well, good night, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a lovely evening, and I hope you enjoy the Indy 500 tomorrow because NASCAR isn't real racing.
No. And now the line and the lines are lighting up.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I got to get out of here. I'm about running out of battery.
Okay.
Guys, it's always fun to be on here. Debbie and had brought her computer just to make sure I could do this tonight, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate y'all sharing your evening with us.
Well, guys, I hope you had a little bit of fun, and you take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.